Welcome back, Patriots, to the Bald Brad Show. So the rumors were true. The White House was trying to get rid of Karine Jean-Pierre, and rightfully so. We're going to break everything down for you. Now, if you recall, about a year and a half ago, there were rumors that Karine Jean-Pierre was going to step down when Biden announced his re-election campaign. Well, that never happened. And so we took it as, well, maybe we were wrong here on the show. Maybe I was incorrect. Turns out we were right. Top aides to President Biden secretly hatched a plan this last fall to replace White House Press Secretary Karine Jean-Pierre, also known as the DEI hire, also known as the worst White House press secretary in American history. And they were going to do this by recruiting outside allies to nudge her out the door. And this has played into John Kirby's role, which we'll get into in just one moment towards the end of this article. Karine Jean-Pierre, who made history in May 2022, becoming the first Black and first openly gay person to hold the position, had developed the exasperating habit of reading canned answers directly from a binder to reporters, of which half the time there weren't even any answers in the damn binder, offering what her supervisors viewed as a less than compelling pitch for the 81-year-old Biden as he readied his re-election campaign. De facto White House communications chief, the wife of Biden personal attorney Bob Bauer, told colleagues she had decided to call in prominent Democrats to explain to Jean-Pierre, 49, that the time was ripe to move on. And I think this was the time that we were talking about on the show where rumors in the White House were that she was going to step down again when he readied his re-election campaign. As I've mentioned, we were right here on the show. We might be a small channel, folks, but we do have inside information of what goes on in the White House. There were a number of people she asked to engage Karine, said one source who heard of the strategy directly from Dunn, whose role as senior advisor has been filled by the past three presidencies by Jared Kushner. You had Barack Obama, Valerie Jarrett, and Karl Rove from George W. Bush. The source also told the Post that Dunn had claimed the White House chief of staff knew about the supported and cloak dagger scheme to push Jean-Pierre out of the West Wing. Why not just call for her resignation? Like, why do you need to devise a strategy that's kind of like wish-washy in terms of removing her? Just fire her. Everybody knows that she's bad. I mean, everybody on both sides would support your decision, Joe. Just get rid of her. There was an effort to have some outside folks who Karine knows and trusts to talk to her about leaving last fall. Would have made a lot of sense to her and her career, calling it an effort to engage her to move along. Jean-Pierre, the person added, had been in the job for a year and a half at that point, which is a pretty standard tenure for a press secretary in what is admittedly a very demanding job, which I do agree. She has a tough job, especially with Joe Biden as president, because turns out she doesn't get a lot of face-to-face time with Joe Biden. And that's where John Kirby kind of comes in a little bit later here, where there's a kind of a headbutting match between Karine Jean-Pierre and John Kirby for not just podium time, but also face-to-face time with the president. And it turns out John Kirby is President Biden's favorite, and Karine Jean-Pierre doesn't get any answers from Joe Biden, which is probably a little bit why we don't get any answers from Karine Jean-Pierre. Not just the fact that she's an idiot, but also the fact that, again, she doesn't actually talk to the president whatsoever. So she just makes shit up left and right. So the job's demanding. And it says here to have folks that she would listen to and trust talk to her about why it might be a wise thing to do that, meaning get the hell out. Jean-Pierre's predecessor, Jen Psaki, was press secretary for 1 week shy of 16 months before leaving to take a job at MSNBC. And I would imagine she would, meaning Karine, would get the same kind of offer from MSNBC since she was on MSNBC before she became White House press secretary, or at least a director of communications behind Jen Psaki. A second source told the Post that Jeff and Anita were trying to find Karine a graceful exit. There ain't going to be no graceful exit for that woman. She sucks. There's a huge diversity issue, and this gets into why they couldn't get rid of her. This gets into why Joe Biden just can't fire her, in the same way why Joe Biden just can't get rid of Kamala Harris for his re-election campaign. Check this out. There's a huge diversity issue, and they're afraid of folks are going to say, who said they learned the effort from multiple people, briefed by Dunn and confirmed at least one person from outside the administration did speak with Jean-Pierre. the diversity issue, the fact that they would get rid of somebody that was a black person and not alone just black, but also an openly gay person. So getting rid of them kind of, in a way, lifts back up that old claim that Joe Biden is a racist. You heard that from Kamala Harris on the campaign trail. So now this is coming back to fruition, and now they put themselves in a tough spot because how do you get rid of her? It's nothing to do with her race, has nothing to do with the fact that she's gay, has everything to do with she just sucks at her job. But the optics of the Democrat Party, optics of the left, is that it's not that she sucks at her job. It's not the fact that she's a DEI hire. It's the fact that she's black and gay is why she's being fired. That's how the Democrats are going to look at it, and they fully understand that, which is why she's still in her job. She has been pretty consistent in telling people from the minute she got the job that she was going to stay through the election. I think Karine has decided to stay come hell and high water, and that's that, which sucks for Biden. I mean, that is not what you want to hear from somebody that's terrible at their job that thinks that they're good at their job. What an amazing thing, right? That Karine Jean-Pierre is so far off her rocker, just like Joe Biden is, that they both actually think they're very good at their jobs and that everything's going fine, even though everything's on fire around them. You have to be so far gone, it is head spinning. Karine doesn't have an understanding of issues, and she reads the book, meaning the binder, word for word, says a second source, adding the situation is made worse by the fact that she thinks she's doing an amazing job. Did I not just say that? Did I not just say that? She thinks she's fabulous. She thinks she's the best press secretary that's ever been. She's making history, you guys, by reading out of a binder that doesn't even have great sources nor answers. But she thinks she's doing an amazing job. I'm telling you, Joe Biden rubs off on people. Not just physically, right? Him sniffing children and actually rubbing himself off. But, I mean, look, she called Joe Biden her mentor, okay? That he asks amazing questions. He's pushing her. She doesn't have to grasp of the issues and doesn't spend time to learn. Oh, yeah, that comes. Look, there could have been a more truthful statement. More truthful statement. She hasn't learned a damn thing. She doesn't know anything. This is a lady that tried to redefine what a recession was, you guys. This is a lady that's trying to tell us currently that inflation is down when it's still up. When Joe Biden got in office, it was 1.4%. It's like 3.5 or something like that. At one point, it was 9.1. They're still telling us, it's down. It's down. We understand what you're feeling. We understand what the American public's going through. This lady doesn't know anything. She doesn't know her ass from her mouth. These issues are not second nature to people. Israel and Gaza is a perfect example. It's very nuanced. Jen would have calls with people to feel very versed enough to go to the briefing. Seems like Karine Jean-Pierre is not willing to take the time to actually learn anything, which is why she gives us these stupid answers that consistently just repeat themselves, like diarrhea mouth. There's an enormous amount of work that goes into getting ready, the first source said, and consistently she does not put in that level of work. Maybe because she's a DEI hire. Maybe because she didn't have the qualifications for the job in the first place, but because you wanted to make groundbreaking history by having the first black gay person to do that job just shows, again, you shouldn't look at race. You shouldn't look at somebody's ethnicity. How about looking at their qualifications to see if they're able to do the job? But this is where the Democrat Party's, at now in terms of their hiring process and how things should function. There's an enormous amount of work, again, that goes into it being ready. She's never ready. In response, the White House Deputy Press Secretary, Andrew Bates, who's just as terrible. Please understand, that guy's just as bad as she is. The amount of gaffes that guy has made, wild. Told the Post, not only are these claims wildly false, did I not say he's just as bad as she is? But the reality is the polar opposite. Oh, so he's going to gaslight us in the same way his boss does, in the same way Joe Biden does, which is Karine Jean-Pierre's boss. Oh, it's all gaslighting. What you're seeing isn't reality, you guys. Let me tell you what you are really seeing is what they're saying here. But the reality is the polar opposite. Karine was never approached by anyone with such a message. She spends 4 hours prepping every day. Does anybody feel like she does that? We cover every White House press briefing. We know the White House correspondents in the room. Nobody believes this. And another Jeff nor Anita did any such thing. Both have been unflinchingly supportive of her. Oh, so all the rumors in there are just completely false, really. We've heard a lot of rumors, and they all seem to be true. Bates added Friday morning, every press secretary uses the binder. Why is she being singled out? Well, every press secretary has a binder. But the problem is that binder previously, like Kayleigh McEnany, was really used to use quotes. Like, this is what the person actually said, whereas she doesn't even do any of that. Every answer is from the binder because she just can't sit there and actually talk like a normal person, give the people what they need to know, what the president said or what the president was thinking, what the president was doing. She has to read from some cockamamie binder that doesn't tell us anything about anything. In December, not long after word of Dunn's plan circulated in the White House, Jean-Pierre received a rejected and unsolicited offer to become president of Emily's List, a major Democratic group that raises money for female candidates who support expanded abortion rights. When NBC News reported of the offer in February, the outlet said Jean-Pierre had empathetically told the group that she was committed to the president and not going anywhere. Oh, God. Those are like words that Joe Biden didn't want to hear, nor anybody else in the White House. Like, how do we get rid of this lady? What do we got to do? God. The chaos. Oh, it gets better. Oh, it gets better. This is like some TMZ drama-filled stuff here. This is like the West Wing show that we saw back in the day. Both the initial offer to Jean-Pierre from Emily's List and its disclosure to NBC's are topics of intrigue within the White House, with unsubstantiated theories suggesting the hand of Dune. Is it Dune or Dunn? Anyways, behind the approach of Jean-Pierre behind its leak, Emily's List did not respond to their request for comment. Oh, I bet they didn't. They're trying to cover it up now. Oh, we can't be called racist. We're trying to get rid of a black gay person. Oh, God. Even though, again, it's all about she just sucks at her job, and everybody knows it, other than Karine Jean-Pierre, clearly. But December appeared to accept that Jean-Pierre was secure in her post. A West Wing official supported the press secretary provided by the Post with text from an email written by Dunn, or Dune, I think it's Dunn, ahead of the Washington Post media report. Quote, I am happy to talk to blah, 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 and tell him Karine Jean-Pierre isn't going anywhere, so this is a ridiculous piece. The pro-Jean-Pierre official told the Post that Dunn was among those who had backed the press secretary's promotion from being Saki's president because they thought it would be great. Oh, she's black and she's gay. She's just automatically going to be good at her job. Look what we did. We put in the first black gay person as White House press secretary. Check that off the list. Now they realize that they screwed up royally, just royally. Karine is very strong and doing a very good job in the briefing room. Who'd they put at gunpoint to write that down, huh? You know, like those hostage videos where the guy's like tied up and there's just like 50 guns pointing at him. Karine is very strong and good at her job. Oh God, it just continues. She is an incredibly quick study. And a variety of policy issues that she has to be appraised of every single day. Come on. Nobody wrote that. Who wrote that? Joe, did you write? Joe ain't writing that. Those with less glowing reviews acknowledge Jean-Pierre is not short of confidence. I think everyone's resigned to the fact that she's not going anywhere on her own. Yeah, because you got to fire her to get rid of her. She thinks she's doing a really good job. If she thinks the president wants her to stay. Look, you know what? Maybe that's true. Maybe Joe does want her to stay, but Joe isn't aware of anything. Joe isn't even aware that he's president. Joe probably, honestly, does not even know Karine Jean-Pierre is. He does not know who she is. He doesn't know who the hell his wife is. Like, he doesn't know his own admirals' names. What Biden really wants was unclear to the Post sources, with a third source familiar with administration dynamics and skeptical of Karine Jean-Pierre's performance, saying the president trusts his senior advisors to manage the team as needed. Again, it's not Biden running the show, you guys. It's these bureaucrats, these people that are unelected officials that are running the government. And that's why we're in the place we're in, because you have these people that are absolute idiots that just sit there and president after president, they're just back in there, never elected. And, you know, Joe don't know what's going on. I know you guys are aware of that. Joe don't know anything. Now, here's the tension. So again, in recap, we had rumors last year. So, I mean, I would even go back almost to a year and a half, but last year, that Karine Jean-Pierre's tenure wasn't going to last that long, and that she was ultimately going to step down, was what we heard specifically, when Joe Biden was going to announce his re-election campaign. I said this, I said would happen maybe March, even this year, but also I think it was going to be May of last year. We talked about it specifically. That's how long this rumor has been going around and that we've been talking about here on the show. We just weren't 100% of it is true because we never heard anything really about it until just today, which is why we're bringing it to everyone's attention here. Now, I think part of how to get her removed and how I think some of this is BS coming from the White House is because John Kirby has been spending a lot of time on the podium and other advisors have been sharing the podium with Karine Jean-Pierre, splitting the time almost in half, which has pissed Karine Jean-Pierre off because she thinks she's great at her job. she thinks, I think she's a power hungry person and sits there and has to call on people for everybody. And so now this whole tension rose, this drama in the White House that we covered a few weeks ago. So Kirby, who has 2 stints as Pentagon press secretary under his belt and also fronted State Department briefings in the final 20 months of the Obama administration, has shared the stage with Karine Jean-Pierre in the White House, and it has created serious tensions in the West Wing. Oh, has it? Sometimes he talks to her and she acts like he is not talking. She has been pretty aggressive about making her territory. And what they mean by that is John Kirby's not the one calling on people for questions. She stands on the side and going, okay, you can go. Like, you think this guy's capable of doing that? Absolutely, but it's a power move. This is my room. This is my territory. Kirby, who is widely respected by journalists as a valuable source of both information and sound bites, has requested to pick out who asks him questions at briefings. But Karine Jean-Pierre has not allowed him to do that. Okay. Dunn has supported Kirby's ask, says the fourth source, but Karine Jean-Pierre has not relented even after Kirby's desire was publicly reported in January by Axios. And again, we covered the whole thing between them too. Kirby 60 and Jean-Pierre have sought to tamp down on perception of a power struggle. And they play it off like, oh, they get along. We all know they don't get along. We all know they hate each other. John Kirby gets way more time with the president than she does, and she's pissed off about it. And there was rumors that Kirby wanted the press secretary position and that he was willing to take it over from Karine Jean-Pierre, but it looks like she's staying in, folks. The coup did not work. The strategy did not work whatsoever, and now they're stuck because they put themselves in a position where they couldn't fire her just from the day that they actually hired her, because they hired her based on her race and based on her LGBTQ qualifications, not from the fact of, hey, can you answer a simple question, or are you actually capable of doing this job? It wasn't any of those things. It was just based off her race and, again, the fact that she's gay. So drama filled in the White House, more rage happening behind the scenes between Karine Jean-Pierre and I guess everybody else. Nothing's going to change, folks. She's going to be there till the very end, which, at the end of the day is frustrating as hell, but it also creates more content for us here on the show. With that being said, let me know what you think about this in the comment section below. Do you think Karine Jean-Pierre should be fired by Joe Biden? Or do you think that she should stay in her job and give us more content? Again, we'd love to hear from you folks. I'll see you next time here on The Bull Brad Show.